This is the moment police found the lifeless body of 25-year-old Patrick de la Cerda, gunned down in his own home before he even had the chance to propose to the love of his life.
I don't know how we're going to get past him and get up the stairs. There's blood at the top of that.
But this wasn't a random act of violence. This was a calculated, cold-blooded execution orchestrated by a man who had everything: money, status, power, but couldn't handle losing control over his ex-girlfriend. Gregory Bender, a millionaire hedge fund manager, wasn't just bitter about Jessica Devani moving on. He was obsessed. And when he saw her happiness with Patrick, he made sure it didn't last. With a handwritten murder plan and a ruthless determination, he carried out what he believed was the perfect crime. But in the end, his arrogance would be his downfall. How did this wealthy, controlling man think he could get away with murder? And what twisted evidence finally brought him down? Let's get into it. On the morning of February 27, 2018, Max de la Cerda received a call about a package delivery to his home in Deltona, Florida, where he lived with his son, Patrick. Patrick had been eagerly awaiting a custom-made engagement ring for his fiancée, Jessica Devani. The delivery notice came at exactly 7:38 a.m., and Max figured it was the ring they'd been waiting for, so he let Patrick know. That would be the last time anyone would ever hear from Patrick again. At 11:30 a.m., the Volusia County Sheriff's Office got a chilling 911 call. Someone had been shot inside the house.
911, where's your emergency?
Has been shot and killed.
When did that happen?
I don't know.
You don't want to try CPR, correct?
No, he's dead. He's cold.
Deputies rushed to the scene, guns drawn, unsure if the shooter was still nearby. As they approached the guest house, Jessica, panicked and frantic, ran toward them.
Ma'am, come over here. Stay here behind the tree.
Then the officers turned the corner and stopped in their tracks. There, lying just inside the entrance, was a young man, motionless, a pool of red spreading beneath him. It was Patrick de la Cerda, just 25 years old, shot 4 times through the glass door with a high-powered rifle. But the scene was more than just a brutal murder. Whoever did this wasn't just trying to kill, they were trying to erase any trace of themselves. Patrick's computer was gone, and the security system's hard drive had been ripped out.
We got a camera above us too.
Then investigators found something else: shell casings. 300 blackout rounds, the kind used in semi-automatic rifles like an AR-15. This wasn't random, this was a hit. But the question was, who wanted Patrick dead and why? News of Patrick's murder spread fast.
A 25-year-old Volusia County man is dead, and deputies say someone shot right through his front door.
This is not a random act of violence.
Patrick's dad, Max, who was working a construction job out of town, rushed to the scene. The moment he arrived, the devastating truth hit him. His son was gone.
I never got to say goodbye to my son. I never got to talk to him. Nothing.
While Patrick's body was taken to the medical examiner's office, investigators turned their focus to the people closest to him. Jessica and Max were brought in for questioning, hoping to uncover who could have wanted Patrick dead. The first to sit in the interrogation room was 29-year-old Jessica Devani. Although heartbroken, she was determined to help in any way she could. She told investigators everything they needed to know about her relationship with Patrick. The two had met in June 2017 on the dating app Plenty of Fish. At the time, Jessica was working as a bank teller in Orlando, fresh out of a rough relationship. Patrick was living in Deltona, working construction with his dad. When they connected, sparks flew instantly.
I could tell that he was very smart and that he was very charismatic. As soon as we met, I knew he was the one. It was kind of like love at first sight. Our relationship just took off. It's as if we were waiting to meet each other.
In just a few months, their relationship flourished. They traveled together, explored new places, and made plans for the future. Jessica described Patrick as the ultimate life of the party, full of energy and always making her laugh.
I loved everything about him. There was not a mean bone in his body. He treated me like a queen.
Patrick had even shared his feelings with his mom, Patricia Rons, letting her know just how serious he was about Jessica.
And one day he came and he said, "Mom, this one is the one."
By December 2017, Patrick was all in. He proposed, and Jessica said yes without hesitation. He gave her a temporary ring while he worked with a jeweler to create something special, something just for her. The couple had big dreams of a wedding in West Palm Beach, or maybe even in France, where Patrick's mother was from. But fate had other plans.
The ring that Patrick designed for me, it was actually supposed to arrive within that week that he passed away. He never got to give it to me.
The night before everything changed, February 26th, Patrick left Jessica a voicemail, one of his last messages to her.
I love you. Good night. Sweet dreams. Call in the morning. I'll call you. I'll send you a text when I wake up, all right? Love you. Good night. Bye.
The next morning, Jessica woke up to find a text from Patrick, just like he promised. But when she tried calling him, there was no answer. At first, she brushed it off. It was still early. But as the morning went on and her calls kept going straight to voicemail, unease settled in. This wasn't like Patrick. Something felt wrong. Her gut told her something was off and she couldn't ignore it. Without hesitation, she left work and rushed to his house. Meanwhile, Max was growing anxious too. He had been calling and texting Patrick all morning, but nothing. Radio silence. Desperate for answers, he called his girlfriend, Shannon, and asked her to check on Patrick. She was the first to arrive at the house, and what she found was a nightmare. Before even calling 911, she had to deliver the news no parent should ever hear. Patrick was gone. Jessica pulled up to the house moments later, and the sight in front of her made her entire world collapse.
As soon as I got there, I ran up to the door and I just found Patrick was on the floor with a big pool of blood next to his head. It was just the worst thing you could ever see in your entire life. My whole world was taken away.
The grief was unbearable, but when detectives asked Jessica if she could think of anyone who would want to hurt Patrick, she didn't hesitate, because this was not the first time Patrick had been shot at. On January 24th, 2018, a neighbor accused Patrick of trespassing and fired 6 shots to scare him off. Patrick wasn't hurt, but he was rattled. He immediately called the police and the man was arrested. This helicopter footage captured the arrest. Investigators saw this as a solid lead. Could this guy have come back to finish the job? When investigators arrived at the neighbor's house, they found it completely empty. There was no sign of him anywhere, so they ran his name through their system hoping for a lead, only to hit a dead end. It turned out that the neighbor couldn't have been responsible for Patrick's murder because at the time of the crime, he was still sitting in jail. And just like that, the case was now back to square one. With their strongest lead ruled out, detectives circled back to Jessica. They needed to know if there was anyone else in Patrick's life who might have wanted to kill him. That's when she told them about a series of chilling voicemails she and Patrick had been receiving. One of them stood out. In a message, a man could be heard talking about putting a plan into action.
I'm making a phone call, I'm giving instructions, and I'm gonna have my plan put into action. Call me back and talk to me. I'll talk to you soon, I hope.
This was exactly what detectives needed, a new person of interest. The man behind these threatening calls was Jessica's ex-boyfriend, Gregory Bender. Jessica explained to law enforcement that before Patrick, she had been in a serious relationship with Bender, a wealthy hedge fund manager who lived in an upscale home in Windermere, just outside of Orlando. From the outside, Bender had it all: success, money, power, but behind closed doors, things were far from perfect. Jessica and Bender, who was nearly twice her age, met online in 2009. At first, everything seemed fine, but over time, Jessica said he became controlling and obsessive and possessive. He would constantly remind her that leaving him would never be pretty. Despite his jealousy and verbal threats, she still accepted his proposal a few years into their relationship. But their relationship finally came crashing down in early 2016 when Bender was admitted to the hospital for a medical procedure. Wanting to surprise him, Jessica stopped walked by his hospital room, only to receive the shock of her life. There at his bedside was another woman. Confused, Jessica confronted her, but the woman seemed just as surprised to see Jessica.
She's like, "What are you doing here?" I was like, "What are you doing here?" And then she showed me her ring. She's like, "I'm his wife."
Yes, Bender was secretly married to Daymara Sanchez. Jessica was devastated. In shock, she left the hospital immediately. Bender later tried to explain himself, claiming that his marriage was nothing more than a business arrangement. According to Jessica, he begged for more time, insisting that he would leave Daymara if she just gave him a little patience. But Jessica had heard enough. The betrayal gave her the clarity that she needed to finally walk away. She thought ending things would be the fresh start that she needed, but she had no idea just how far Bender was willing to go to keep her in his life. Jessica explained to detectives that after their breakup, Bender became obsessed with her. He tracked her movements, constantly called, contacted her family, and stalked her online.
Don't push me here. All I'm doing is asking to talk to you right now. I'm not asking for anything else. Unblock me. Enough is enough.
When that didn't work, he started showing up at her job. At one point, she was so disturbed by his behavior that she took a voicemail to the police, hoping they would intervene. But officers didn't see it as a real threat.
When the police came to my job, at the time, I had the police officer listen to the voice message, and they're like, "Well, it still doesn't mean anything. We can't do anything based on verbal harassment." They even called Bender. They said, "Oh, he seems fine. Like, he seems cool and collected." And I was like, "Yes, that's Bender. He's very conniving that way."
When Jessica met Patrick just a month after her breakup, she didn't hold back and told him all about her jealous and obsessive ex. But Patrick was in love and wasn't intimidated. That changed when he made their relationship public on social media. Bender saw the posts and immediately started harassing Patrick, bombarding him with calls, threatening him and his mother, and demanding he leave Jessica.
I can't believe you did this to me and you didn't tell me about this. This is gonna end. He is gonna end. I can't believe you did this. Call me now or all hell is gonna break loose.
Patrick took the threats seriously. He installed a security system and even put a fence around his property. But no amount of precaution could keep Bender away. By November 2017, Jessica and Patrick had had enough. They gathered all the threatening messages and voicemails and took them to court. A judge granted them a restraining order, forcing Bender to stay away from Jessica, cut all contact, and give up his firearms. For a while it worked. The threats stopped and the couple finally felt safe. But it didn't last. Bender only broke the restraining order once, on the morning of Patrick's murder. Jessica later told police that he had called her twice that day, using her work phone to get around the order. The moment she saw his name on the caller ID, she knew something was wrong. She immediately texted Patrick, not realizing it was already too late. With all signs pointing to Bender, detectives were convinced they had their guy. Now they just needed a plan to make him talk. Detectives knew that they had to act fast, so they came up with a bold plan. Jessica would call Bender while they listened in, hoping he would slip up. Jessica was terrified knowing what he was capable of, but she refused to let him get away with Patrick's murder. Without hesitation, she made the call, and she did not hold back, letting him know that she knew he was behind Patrick's murder.
"I saw what happened on the news. I want to tell you I feel sorry for you."
But Jessica has too much anger, and she doesn't hold back.
"You ruined my life. You got your revenge, and you ruined my life."
"What are you talking about?"
And we said, "Enough is enough. I can't do this. I'm gonna hire a hitman. I'm gonna kill him."
No, that's not, no. I didn't say that.
Bender didn't confess, but just before hanging up, he made a shocking move. He asked to meet up. Just hours after Patrick's murder, he was still trying to win Jessica back. Though the call didn't give them enough to arrest him for murder, detectives feared Bender knew he was under suspicion and might destroy evidence. To buy time, they arrested him for violating the restraining order, giving them 24 hours to build their case. Then, out of nowhere, they got a call from an unexpected source. Bender's wife, Damara. She was terrified and refused to meet at the police station, instead asking to talk in a parking lot outside of town. Once inside the police car, she revealed something shocking. Months before, she had found a notebook of Bender detailing a murder plan. At the time, he dismissed it as just a fantasy, but now Patrick was dead.
What did it say?
Something about go there. I need to remember the clothes, see how many cars are there, check the cell phone and stuff like that. It was like a plan.
What kind of plan? Like a plan to do what?
I guess to kill.
With this bombshell, detectives secured a warrant for Bender's home, though they didn't expect to find much as he had been careful about covering his tracks. But detectives made a shocking discovery in Bender's office: a handful of crumpled, handwritten pages tossed into a recycling bin. The notes detailed everything: a hand-drawn map of Patrick's house, precise directions on avoiding footprints, and even steps on how to dispose of evidence. It was undeniable proof of premeditation, critical for the prosecution. Inside the house, police also found a stash of weapons, body armor, and .300 blackout bullets, the same kind used in Patrick's murder. But the AR-15, the weapon that fired them, was nowhere to be found. Investigators believed Bender had disposed of it after the crime. As the search was winding down, they checked one last place: a kitchen drawer. Inside, they found their most damning piece of evidence: a spent .300 blackout shell casing. Unlike the unused bullets in Bender's house, this one had been fired, making it a direct link to the crime scene. Lab tests confirmed the match, and with that, police had probable cause. On March 1st, 2018, less than 48 hours after the murder, Gregory Bender was charged with first-degree murder. Jessica later said she felt relief when she heard the news, but the road to justice was long and painful. It wasn't until May 2021, over 3 years later, that Bender finally stood trial. Jessica, sitting with Patrick's family, noticed how strangely confident he seemed, as if he thought he could win. His high-priced defense team had one advantage: no murder weapon, no eyewitnesses, and no physical evidence linking him directly to the scene. Still, the case against him was strong, and Jessica found herself once again facing the man who had terrorized her. Throughout the trial, Bender wouldn't stop staring at her, making her deeply uncomfortable. At one point, he even became jealous, mistaking Patrick's brother for her new boyfriend. When Jessica took the stand, she was ready to tell the truth, but the defense had a trick up their sleeve: secretly recorded videos of her meeting with Bender months after she started dating Patrick. The footage showed them having dinner, entering his home, and even him touching her leg. The defense used this to imply she had never truly left Bender.
You started dating Patrick in June. Why are you dining with Greg and going to Greg's house in November of 2017 if you're happily moving on with Patrick?
Jessica, however, did not hesitate to fight back.
Because the defendant was threatening and I was trying to calm him down, and he said that if I went to see him, he would not harm anyone.
She also exposed the videos as a setup, revealing that Bender had hired a private investigator to record their meetings.
You actually see these videos?
I did.
What did he do with it?
He had given it to Patrick.
Did that cause some strife between you and Patrick in your relationship?
Yes.
The defense's plan backfired, but the trial was far from over. Jessica watched as Bender sat emotionless until his ex-wife, Damara Sanchez, took the stand. As she testified, Bender finally cracked. When asked if she had been married to him, she confirmed it in Spanish.
Bender? Yes.
Then came the bombshell. She revealed that Bender had planned to kill Patrick. For the first time, Bender showed emotion, even whispering, "I love you," to her from across the courtroom. The judge quickly shut it down, warning him not to speak. With the jury now seeing who Bender really was, a man who meticulously plotted and executed a murder, the final piece of evidence was about to be revealed. Despite thinking he had committed the perfect crime, Bender had made a huge mistake. Surveillance footage from February 27, 2018 at 6:13 a.m. captured his car leaving his house. He drove 45 minutes from Windermere to Patrick's home in Deltona. Once there, he parked, put on a second pair of shoes wrapped in duct tape to avoid leaving footprints and made his way onto the property. Following the dirt road on his own murder plan, he moved through the wooded area and waited. At 7:15 a.m., he called Patrick's dad, Max, pretending to be a delivery driver. While Max relayed the message to Patrick, Bender remained hidden, his rifle aimed at the front door. Through the glass, he saw his target. As Patrick walked down the stairs, Bender opened fire, shooting 6 times through the door, ending Patrick de la Cerda's life in an instant.
Where he took out all his rage, all his jealousy in those shots and accomplished what his one goal in life was at that point in time, which was to kill Patrick. I'm sure there was some level of satisfaction that he had done it. He had pulled off in his mind what the perfect murder was and did that he was going to get away with it.
After the shooting, Bender rushed inside, ripped the DVR from the security cameras, and grabbed most of the shell casings. He disposed of the evidence, including the murder weapon, but made one crucial error. He kept a shell casing as a twisted trophy. That casing later tied him directly to the crime. Forensic analysis confirmed that the 2 casings found at the crime scene matched the one discovered in Bender's junk drawer. It was undeniable proof. He had murdered Patrick because he could not accept that Jessica had moved on. On May 28th, after 3 days of testimony, the trial came to an end. The jury only took a few hours to reach a verdict: guilty of first-degree murder. In Florida, that meant an automatic life sentence without parole. In the courtroom, Patrick's devastated family found some relief. His father, overcome with emotion, said he hoped Bender would never see freedom again.
I want to thank all of you for having put evil where it belongs.
I hope they keep you in jail until you die there. Until you die. Because the moment you step out, I'm going to finish you off. The same thing you did to my son.
I hope you feel some peace, Patrick. Rest assured, the man who took your life is going to pay with his own life now.
Later, Patrick's loved ones visited his grave with cake and champagne, celebrating the justice he had finally received. As for Jessica, though she never got to receive the engagement ring from Patrick, his family gave it to her on her 30th birthday. And to this day, she still wears it as a symbol of their love.
Patrick will always be the love of my life. The ring is one of the last things that I have to hold near, and it's a connection that I have with Patrick.
So what is your take on this? Was Bender just a jealous ex who couldn't let her go? Or was this something even darker, an obsession with control that turned deadly? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear your take on this insane case. And if this story had you hooked, trust me, we've got plenty more where that came from. Hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a case that'll leave you speechless.